morning. My name is Mr. Anthony Sangirardi, and our videographer for the presentation is Lindsay Atchison, and our scribe is Celia Rader. Today's lesson will be taught in a first grade language arts classroom, and the topic is the review of R-influenced vowel patterns. Okay. Now to begin class, I will give the students this worksheet right here. The worksheet will contain the vowels of A, E, I, O, and U, and also will contain the R-controlled endings, or middle, or beginnings, of AR and OR in the words. Now, for the first part of the class, I would have the students write down in AR, R-controlled word. So for example, would be park. Another example for the students I would have them write down is bar. And they also have to realize that you have to see why to the AR, R-controlled words. The next word we have to go on to is OR. So an example for an OR would be sort, because you can see that the OR in the middle is OR. Then you have port, and the students would see that the OR in the middle is why that's an R-controlled OR word. And also, the next part of the class would involve going over some of the words if they are R-controlled or not. So for this section right here, I would give the students Ziploc bags containing all of these words, and they would describe if they are an AR, R-controlled word. So obviously cat is not, because that ends in AT. Cap is not, because it's CAP. Then you have war, which would be WAR. And if the students couldn't figure out any extra words to write up top in their worksheet beginning class, they could write down these as part of a study guide towards a spelling test at the end of the week. Car ends in AR, heart, AR, rag, art, AR, fast is not. And you would keep going, giving them a little bit harder words that are a little bit more difficult with the sounds. First word would be star, and that would be an AR, R-controlled word because it ends in AR and you hear the R. Bark would be yes. Yard would be yes. Card, yes. Crab, jar, yes. Snap would not be because there is no R sound in the word. And then brag. Now these would be the most difficult of the words, in my opinion, for a first grade class. Okay, now these words right here, you have farm, which is definitely an AR, R-controlled word. Dark is yes, and I would actually consider this an extra credit question because on the spelling test at the end of the week, some children might put C just because of the sound cut. Crash, you have shark, park, glare, drag, stare, and trap. These words would definitely be important towards the spelling test at the end of the week. So I would emphasize that very strongly and make sure that they understand that they need to understand these words for the spelling test at the end of the week. That's it for the AR words. And then we move on to the OR words. Okay, now we have sock. Sock is definitely not an OR controlled verb because it's OC. Trot, spot is no. Fox ends in OX. You have fort, which is an OR word. So if they didn't put fort, or if they have any extra spaces in here, they could put fort as a part of, like I said earlier, as part of the study guide for the spelling test at the end of the week. Torn, OR, they could definitely fill that on the sheet as well. And job is not. Same thing with a couple of extra words. Fork would definitely be an OR, for, FOR, word, OR, born, OR, and the list keeps on going. These are definitely, even though these are a lot of words to have on the study guide, too much practice is not a bad idea. They could definitely help in the future, and especially for the spelling test at the end of the week. Now, towards the end of class, I would have the students make sure that they keep this and make sure they review this every night to make sure they understand why the words are AR controlled and OR controlled, how to sound them out, and make sure they understand that these words are going to be on the spelling test towards the end of the week. So basically, for assessment, I would give the students a worksheet of circling yes or no as to why the words are AR, OR controlled, just like we did in class. And I would also explain to them to make sure they understand to study for the spelling test at the end of the week. And this is our review of our influenced vowel patterns.